Hi there, you're watching the Midday Update. This is the weekly roundup, Friday's edition. I'm joined by Nordin, Abdullah, crisis management analyst, who is and will always weigh in on his perspective. Nordin, it's good to see you again. Of course, much to talk about. Looking at what has happened during the entire week in terms of the trending stories, the latest on all things MCO and COVID-19. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, this news just in: a shooting incident has taken place at the RMAF Hyundai Squadron 330 guard post at about 7:30 a.m. Today. 4 Air Force personnel were killed in what is known to be a shooting incident at this point. This was at the camp in Kota Samarahan. Now, it's learned that the incident happened just when one of the four had taken his weapon and fired at three of his colleagues just before the night shift ended earlier this morning. And we don't know much more than that at this point. Prelim investigation is showing that one of the personnel shot the three men as they were handing over duty before taking his own life. Two of the men who were shot had succumbed to the injuries at the scene, while another who was badly injured managed to drive to the military clinic located inside the camp to seek medical help. But we will, of course, be sharing more as we get that. It's a difficult time, and to really say why this happened, we don't have the facts to share at this point. But
exactly,
Jessy,
I've
just been hearing so much.
Yes, it's a heartbreaking story, and Malaysia is not really the case of shooting crimes and shooting incidents in Malaysia is incredibly rare. But my thoughts go out to the families. My thoughts go out to the police as they have to investigate that. And of course, the Royal Malaysian Air Force is a world-class air force that has always followed procedures. So my thought is obviously issues around mental health during this time. And but one of the things that the police have asked is no speculation until we get the facts, and I think that's key, and that's the best way to respect the families involved.
That's right. Of course, keep it locked on to Bernama as we bring you more updates and what's happening around the country as well. But Nordin, it is the weekly roundup, and we've got a few things on our plate, from flexibility to those fully vaccinated. That has come as a bit of a relief for many people this week. On to some COVID-19 numbers and updates in terms of the vaccination rollout, as well as our national recovery plan. Things seem to be much in motion at this point, but also looking at the rising unemployment rate. In fact, I think you might share the story with us a bit later on. Vaccination for teenagers as well. That has just been announced. Also, a little bit on anti-vaxxers and what the government is saying they might, or what action they might have to take. Gerard Ratnam will join us in a bit with that. And at the end, we have a quick look at what Lionel Messi is up to as well. But let's go right into some of this restriction relaxation, as they call it. It still sounds quite a hard place. Is a restricted relaxation, right?
But yeah, you can
so
restrict
as
relaxation.
we know, as we know at this point,
it's interesting to see that go ahead,
no,
Jessy.
We seem to be eating on each other's words. But look, let me just say this. Dine-in is allowed for fully vaccinated in phase 2, phase 3 states from Tuesday onwards, and outdoor sports tourism too. That was announced earlier in the week as well. So it's come as a relief to many people. Nordin.
And I agree. I think this is one of the relaxations that the government has put in place. One of the things, though, that the medical association has come out and said is it too soon, and do we have to be worried about taking those steps? Yes, we want to restart the economy. And on the flip side of that discussion, FMM have come out and said, look, we need to get moving on the economy. So I think we need to look at it. I think we need to look at what's going on there.
So what is it? It's almost like a start-stop. Like, do we open up the economic sectors? Do we hold back? This is the twist that happened this week. While we've been hearing about the easing of travel restrictions as well, for those fully vaccinated. What happened earlier this week was the government was urged to reconsider the relaxed restrictions. And these are coming, this warning, so to say, is coming from health experts. They call the Malaysian Health, the MHC. They say that these relaxations basically is premature and potentially dangerous. So if you got the health experts saying that, then
exactly, I think both. This is the difficult part in a crisis like this. Actually, both sides of this coin are true. It is potentially dangerous. Our current situation is already dangerous. We have a huge amounts of cases, huge amounts of deaths, people brought in dead. I think yesterday was the highest number, almost 100, just people brought in dead. But on the flip side, the economic argument is also correct that we need to start the economy moving. We need to start businesses operating because people are also, their livelihoods are dying off. And the suicide rate is also, as the bellwether of that entire mental health spectrum, everyone is pointing to this number. So we need to get that balance right. And I think one of the things that we've always realized that the Malaysian government, and especially this administration, has been flexible. And this is what we have to remember, that we will remain flexible. And especially in those states that are actually able to open up, I'm all for it. Let those states open up. I'm a little bit more concerned about travel because my thought is about containment in terms of crisis management. But if we can do it in a way that it is relatively safe, and we use the word relatively safe, then it's the best thing for the greater good, for the greater amount of people, not just the medical thing and not just the economic argument. So we've got to put both of them together. And this is the difficult part that the Prime Minister and the ministers involved have to get through, that they're actually weighing up both sides of the story right now.
That's right. I mean, I think you've brought up some really important points there. From having facts and basing strategies and the way forward, basing that on scientific facts as well. I think that's going to be, obviously one of the ways, or something that we'll need to rely on a lot for any decision that's going to be made.
At the same time, now, Jessy, I just wanted to bring up this one other point, Jessy. Just because the restrictions have been relaxed doesn't mean everyone has to go out and do it straight away. So there's also a community approach to this thing. So bring your community thinking. Do you need to do it? Is it required? Yes, if you haven't seen your wife or your husband for 6 months, by all means, travel. Do it safely. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And so based on that, the Prime Minister had announced green light for home quarantine beginning this week, and interstate travel for spouses also allowed. And the DPM has said that easing of travel restrictions for fully vaccinated will also help families. Many of them been separated for so long. And as you brought up, mental health as well. I mean, we've been over 500 days now, I think, or some number like that. In this MCO mode. I mean, how much can we put our lives on pause? How much can we take?
Exactly. Right. And I think this is where the government is starting to be more flexible and understanding the plight of individuals, but at the same time thinking, how will this impact the economy? How will this impact the lives of people? And I think with that, the greater likelihood of surviving something like that is in the favor of how we're operating right now. So I think we're getting right. And the other thing I just want to bring up, if it starts to go wrong, it's very easy to change the restrictions as well. And people have to be aware that if it starts to get worse, restrictions will change. And we've seen that time and time again.
But often that gets sort of mistaken for the government not having the right SOPs in place in terms of the thought process. They say, well, today you say this and tomorrow you're saying that. You must be confused. I mean, that's some of the backlash that I seem to see on social media.
I see a lot of that discussion as well, which is fine, and I'm glad that the government allows this discussion to take place because it allows people to share their views. The government is also listening to that with their social media listening reports. But at the same time, you have to make decisions based on today's data. Maybe what was happening a week ago or a month ago is no longer relevant. You have to make decisions on what it is today and what it will most likely be tomorrow and in the days and weeks to come. So
That's right. So things
it's
are
very
rapidly
easy.
changing. Yes, yes. And we really have to sort of, be flexible and fluid enough to keep up with those changes. But what remains is we need to adhere to the SOPs, stay home, keep safe. The Delta variant is aggressive. It is the most prominent variant here in the country right now. But what the Federation of the Malaysian Manufacturers said earlier this week as well is open up all economic sectors immediately. We know that the relaxation of SOPs for the economic sector will be announced soon. Right now, at this point, it's still being discussed by the National Security Council. Many discussions and assessments as well to see what can be done. But there's one thing based on the National Recovery Plan that the Prime Minister has reiterated many, many times. And he's saying that by October, 80% of Malaysians' population will be fully vaccinated by the end of October. And in fact, by the end of this month, August 31st, more than 60% of adults, and that's about 40% of Malaysians, will be fully vaccinated. So these numbers look promising. We know that everything's been ramped up. But going back to the economy, I just wanted to highlight this. A recent survey is showing that 90% of sales has dropped in Malaysian malls. The association predicts more tenants to permanently leave by December. Once we're all out and about, there'll be no shops to go to. There won't be much shopping to do.
Believe me, Malaysians are very dynamic when they come to business thinking. So those shops will, I think, quickly return to business. My concern is that have they been able to survive and are they resilient enough to hold off in terms of that? So are those shopping malls giving them rent assistance and all these kind of things? But the other thing I need to come back to, Jessy, is we're looking at numbers of the number of Malaysians vaccinated. And when we look at this problem, we've got to realize there's the Malaysians that are in Malaysia, and there's also the huge amount of foreign workers that are here. We need to look at that in the economic context, simply because there's a huge amount of foreign workers in the factories, in that industrial sector. So I would like to see that those companies that are able to demonstrate that they can handle the crisis and handle the vaccination process of all their workers, and they've got the SOPs in place, and they have institutionalized the SOPs. That means the company knows how to deal with this in an ongoing basis. They should be rewarded quickly because they are going to be the ones that are going to drive the economic recovery. Same thing with the retail sector. If the retail sector can demonstrate that they can handle it properly, and we saw this with hairdressers, we saw that they put together a wonderful set of SOPs. They did a whole lot of work, a year or so ago to get them open again. And that's a good example of where we need to look at managing each component of this problem and not trying to do it dangerously in a sense with a broad stroke.
Okay, Nordin, I got to jump in here. At this point, I want to bring in Gerard Ratnam, who's joining us from Wisma Bernama. He's telling us a little bit about what the government say they will announce soon in terms of action that might be taken against anti-vaccine groups. Let's bring in Gerard. Gerard, what are some of the updates you have in terms of anti-vaxxers and what might happen in the next few weeks?
Thank you, Jess. Hey, Nordin. I've been reading a lot about what's happening with regards to anti-vaxxers. Now, I know the government is in the midst of putting something together, and they want people to be serious about the vaccination. Now, there are two sides to this coin with regards to anti-vaxxers. While some of us think that they're evil, we also need to think about anti-vaxxers or people who are hesitant about the vaccines because of anaphylaxis, getting side effects that are bad. So, if I'm carrying an EpiPen around all my life, chances are I'm going to worry about going for the vaccine because I've been hearing so much. Now, we need to get these people on the bandwagon. And how do we get these people on the bandwagon? First thing we can do is to ensure that they get their vaccines in hospitals close to where they can get quick medical attention if needed. But I guess most of this go back to even the beginning of the year. In the beginning of the year, we had the health minister who came in and said the government will take action against those who campaign against COVID-19 vaccination. And there are people who are campaigning against the COVID-19 vaccination as we speak, even up until today. So this was in February when the minister said this, and the government has been very relaxed about this because they don't want to pressure the people in doing this. And a lot of people are taking advantage of this whole situation. Now, if they wanted to clamp down in February, when things were hot and people were still were going in and out of social media saying things about anti-vaccines and all these conspiracy theories that come with it. Most of it is about world domination, of course, secret labs around the world. Yeah. And see, the thing is, most of us think that we research, but we don't. Just scrolling a few pages on Google doesn't amount to research. So please don't sit in nicer parts of Malaysia. Google, talk to your friends, and then say, this shouldn't be done. We shouldn't be allowing people out. At some point, this is going to have to happen. Even with Freedom Day, they've let people out, but they're dealing with the problems that are coming along with it. And even in Australia, I'd like to point to Australia that they triangulate a situation very quickly. But you also need to know that with all the work that they're doing in Australia, they still have problems. They still have problems with depression. They still have problems with people losing jobs. The problems are the same everywhere. Yeah.
That's right. That's true.
Jessy, I want to be the one to ask the question of Gerard here. I've got to ask Gerard, don't you think, Gerard, that what we are seeing here is this anti-vaxxer movement? I think there's a difference between anti-vaxxers and hesitant people who are hesitant, but people who are actively going after this thing this is really, for me, a kind of an American problem that has somehow Malaysians, a group of Malaysians, maybe in that bangsa bubble, have kind of adopted this thing as like, oh, this is cool, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it's easy for us to sit in big houses and say, why are people coming out of the houses? If you haven't lived in a PPR, you wouldn't know what it's like being cooped up. So, there again, there's a flip side for you. We need to balance all this with information that we have around us. Have we gone around and looked at poorer parts of Malaysia and how these people live in houses? So little things like that need to be taken into action. But push comes to shove, I think action needs to be taken on those who are reticent about the vaccine in the nicest possible way to get them on the bandwagon, because I don't want to be standing next to you if you hadn't had your vaccine yet. Yeah.
Well, here's what the Prime Minister has said this week. He said the government will announce that action might be taken against anti-vaccine groups either this month or next month.
He's saying might be taken. He's still being very, very relaxed about it. Might be taken.
Giving a warning.
He's being humane and he's understanding the situation.
Yeah, but, he's also reiterating the fact that this is to ensure the country can achieve herd immunity. We understand and we know that that's our goal right now, and that so many things are pegged onto that. But for anti-vaxxers, for whatever reasons they may have, for me personally, I feel perhaps it's been backed by some conspiracy theories and some falsehoods.
Look, once again, the conspiracy theories are stuff we've heard from before, that the beast is going to come and inject a chip into your body. Now, even a DJ in America, in New York, said this on morning primetime show without having any relevance or any information as to what he's saying. He meant it as a joke first.
Studio is telling me I can't chat to you guys much anymore, but I just want to say this week, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, he questioned why people wouldn't believe health experts about coronavirus and charged that anti-vaxxers, he called them schmucks for prioritizing their freedom over the health and safety of other people. This was shared in an interview on CNN that he spoke on just a few days ago. So yes, but for verified information and news, please visit Bernama.com, our portal. Everything is updated on a very timely basis there. Thank you, Gerard, and we'll speak to you soon. Do take care. Moving on to the Health Ministry, they say they have detected COVID-19 vaccine certificates being sold online. This, according to Deputy Minister. What?
Yeah, business. Obviously, criminal elements here have tried to take advantage of the situation, and it just goes to show that the government is on top of this, and they're looking at it. They know that there will be people out there trying to make a quick buck and also mislead people during this time. People may be desperate, but if you just follow the process, if you just follow that thing, it's actually going to save you time in the long run, because you don't want to end up paying a $10,000 fine for having a fake certificate and trying to go and see this. So just do it properly. It may take an extra couple of days, but you'll get it done.
Right, that's right. There's no way out of this. There's no shortcuts. Having both your vaccination doses is important for you, as it is important to have an original certificate. From the Stats Department earlier this week, it was said that Malaysia's unemployment rate has risen to 4.8% in June this year. This involves close to 800,000 people, Nordin. I mean, on the back of being creative and trying to, do all sorts of businesses, this is a real problem on the ground. And we don't have much time, so I'll need you to share your thoughts quite quickly.
It's a real problem, and I think for everyone out there who is suffering and not able to get a job right now, I think you need to continue to keep working at it, keep finding those jobs, get onto social media, get your resume updated, and the other thing is upskill yourself while you can. There's a lot of online courses that you can actually do for free. Go and do that so that you actually can become more productive. And this is the problem that we realize, that it's not an unemployment problem that's the real issue with the economy. It's a productivity issue. So if you can be productive for a company, they will need you. If you can't find a job here in Malaysia, find a job virtually in the global gig economy. That is the place where a lot of people are looking for work right now, and they're able to deliver that. Of course, there's a lot of low end people who are not in that level, who are impacted. We need to be innovative. We need to think differently. It's tough, but we got to think differently.
That's right. Thinking differently, being resilient. I mean, these are some of the lessons that we've all learned during this year and the year before. Incredibly tough for so many people. What we know is 8 million ringgit will be channeled to the Malaysian Cultural Economic Development Agency this week. This was announced as well to implement programs that will help in the survival and sustainability of the arts and culture practitioners affected, of course, by the pandemic. So back to what you were saying about jobs, and the arts industry always sort of takes a hit if it doesn't have enough budget, it doesn't have enough buy-in or somewhat or the other.
Exactly.
But here they are again.
Exactly.
So it's good to know that.
Yeah, it's a good thing that the government has noticed that we can't go out and do our usual shoots. We can't do our usual productions. A lot of people have moved to online productions, which is really cool. But keeping that sector alive, I think, is very important for the country. It's very important for maintaining the culture of Malaysia. And the fact that MCMC is getting that done, I think, is very important. One thing that we've noticed, and then
this week, Nordin?
Yeah.
The big news this
Which
week,
one?
the Prime Minister came out to congratulate our pocket rocket man, and says that he is the real champion for Malaysians, Azizul Hasni. Of course, even though he did not, score or secure the gold medal, it does not matter. He performed so incredibly well. It was absolutely stunning.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love watching that. I watched the race. He did a great job. It's a split second. The poor guy who came in and got the bronze, is a millimeter away. And this just goes to show you where we are in global competition. It's about split seconds. It's about getting that last inch and winning the battle. So it's a wonderful example of how we have to think. It's about hard work now. It's about getting past the line. And this is how we're going to survive COVID-19. And that's a wonderful example.
Well, very quickly, look what's trending on Twitter today. It's a Left-Handers Day. So in conjunction with that, lefties have been expressing all their specialities of being a left-handed person on Twitter. I'm always amazed. I mean, they have the best handwriting sometimes.
I'm a right-handed. My wife, of course, is left-handed, so I'm very happy left-handed. Yeah. So that's why.
Okay. Look, interesting date today, Friday the 13th, and many tweets also regarding this being, sort of a spooky day of such. But what is also trending is Chelsea fans are thrilled over the comeback of some of its players. #LookWho'sBack. LUK. Go and look that up on Twitter and you'll find
Yeah.
that piece of information. Now, quick update on sports. EPL season starts tomorrow, Nordin. Lionel Messi's arrival in Paris has set the money train in motion. We're going to leave our viewers with a visual. This is
Yes.
Lionel Messi saying hi to all his fans from the balcony while his Indian neighbor can't believe that Messi lives right
Exactly.
beside him. We'll leave you
This
with
is
that.
cool.
Take
This
care,
is
everyone.
cool.
Thanks, Nordin. Bye.
Awesome. See you, Jessy.
Messi, love you, bro. Whoa. देवू और क्या मनता है भाई देखो तो see the crowd